The first time I met Officer Blake Harlan, he called me kid and told me not to get trampled. The second time, I beat him in front of the entire county. It was the summer rodeo in Dalton, Texas, a place where the air smelled of dust, sweat, and fried funnel cakes. The equestrian tournament wasn't just a sport here. It was a battlefield of pride. And Blake Harlan wasn't just any competitor. He was an alpha, decorated police officer, and local golden boy, the kind of man whose name was whispered with equal parts admiration and intimidation. Me? I was just the stablehand's nephew, to most people a 23-year-old Omega, who spent more time brushing down horses than showing them. I didn't wear the high-dollar gear, didn't have the crowd's favoritism, and definitely didn't have an alpha's booming voice to rally the stands. But what I had was Starlight, a stubborn gray mare with more attitude than the both of us combined, and a stubborn streak even bigger. When I crossed the finish line ahead of him, the grandstands went dead quiet for 3 full seconds. Then came the roar, half cheers, half disbelief. Blake's jaw tightened, his gloved hands flexing on the reins. I could see the calculation in his eyes. How a nobody just stole his crown. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, he showed up at my uncle's Stablesno uniform, just a white button-down rolled at the sleeves, dark jeans, and boots that looked like they'd seen every dusty back road in the county. He carried a bouquet of red roses so fresh they almost glistened, and when I opened the gate, he gave me a smile that was part dare, part promise. "You ride like you've got something to prove," he said. "Let me buy you dinner so I can figure out what it is." I laughed in his face. Not because it wasn't tempting, God, it was but because men like Blake don't just show up with flowers unless they're playing a game. And I wasn't about to be the punchline. "Not interested," I told him, brushing past with Starlight's reins in hand. But he just fell into step beside me like we were on the same team. Kept happening. Every day that week, he'd find Meet the Feed store at the diner, even once outside the small-town library where I thought I was safe. Always with roses. Always with that smile. By Friday, the town was talking. By Saturday, I was wondering why the hell my chest tightened every time he looked at me. The thing about alphas is they're not used to being told no. The thing about me is I'd rather bite my own tongue than be conquered. But Blake had a way of making defiance feel like foreplay. It wasn't just the persistent sight, was how he noticed things. The way he asked about Starlight's injured ankle like it mattered to him. The way he stepped between me and an aggressive drunk outside the saloon without making it a scene. The way his eyes softened when I told him about my mom's accident years back. One night, I found myself leaning against the barn door after closing, watching the last of the sunset burn behind the hills. I heard boots crunch on gravel before I saw him. No roses this time. Just him, his hat in one hand, looking almost uncertain. "Why do you hate me so much?" he asked quietly. "I don't hate you," I admitted, before I could stop myself. "I just don't trust you." His lips quirked. "Fair. Then let me change that." He didn't move closer, just waited. And for the first time, I didn't step away. The rodeo ended weeks ago, but Blake Harlan hadn't let me forget it for a single day. Somewhere between the first bouquet and the 100th teasing smirk, my defenses had begun to crack. I didn't realize just how much until that night under the harvest moon. It was the annual Dalton Fall Dance, the kind of event where the town square turned into a swirl of string lights, fiddles, and barbecue smoke. My friends dragged me there under the promise of just 1 hour, and I was fully prepared to lean against the fence until it was socially acceptable to leave. Then he walked in, Blake in a navy button-up, sleeves rolled, the top 2 buttons undone like he wasn't even trying to hide the way he carried himself. The crowd parted for him not because he demanded it, but because he had that kind of presence. And when his eyes found me across the square, it was like the rest of the noise blurred into static. He came over slow, every step measured, and when he stopped in front of me, I realized my fingers were clutching the paper cup of sweet tea so tight it was about to crush. "Dance with me," he said. Not a question yet, not a command either. I opened my mouth to refuse, but he held out his hand, palm up, like he'd been waiting all night for this one moment. And God help me, I set my tea down and took it, The music was slow, too slow, and Blake guided me into the center of the square like we'd done this 100 times. His hand rested warm and firm on my back, his other gripping mine gently but unyielding. "You know," he murmured, "I didn't come here to win tonight." "Oh," I tried for sarcasm, but my voice came out softer than I intended. "Let me guess, you came to charm another unsuspecting Omega?" His smile was small, almost sad.
No.
"I came to show one that I'm not giving up." I wanted to say something sharp, but the truth was lodged in my throat. Somewhere between the flowers, the quiet moments, and the way he looked at me like I was more than the rodeo's fluke champion, I'd stopped wanting him to give up. When the song ended, he didn't let go. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen moments, coffee at sunrise in the stable loft, trail rides that lasted hours longer than planned, late-night talks on the hood of his truck under an ocean of stars. The town stopped gossiping and started betting on when we'd make it official. But there was still the part of me that remembered the rules. Alphas play to win, Omegas protect their hearts. That fear came to a head one rainy evening. I was in the barn closing up when Blake arrived, dripping wet from his patrol shift, his uniform jacket hanging heavy on his shoulders. He didn't bring roses this time. Instead, he pulled something small from his pocket, a braided leather bracelet with a silver charm shaped like Starlight's hoofprint. "It's not flowers," he said quietly. "It's something you can keep. Something that says I'm not here for the win. I'm here for you." The rain drummed hard on the roof. My throat tightened. "Blake, you don't have to say yes. You just have to believe me." And for the first time, I did. We didn't have some grand declaration in front of the whole town. We didn't need to. Our moment came weeks later, at another rodeo, not as rivals, but side by side, laughing in the dust. When the sun dipped behind the stands and the crowd thinned, he slipped an arm around my waist, leaned in close, and whispered, "Guess you finally let the alpha catch you." I smiled, leaning into him. Guess I decided he was worth catching back. And there, in the smell of leather, hay, and roses, we found something better than victory. We found each other. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.